and welcome to another episode of How to Be a Great Player. Well, today I've brought you out of our little studio and into the house that I happen to call home, and specifically to my library. Why have I brought you to my library? Well, I firmly believe that as a player, as a GM, as anybody who's interested in the kind of activity that we participate in other words, in storytelling and role-playing, you should have a broad general knowledge. Now, you don't have to have a broad general knowledge, but remember, part of the key to imagination is lots of research. The more research you have, in other words, the more stuff you read about, the more imaginative you can be, and the more creative you can be, and the closer you can take a step to being a truly awesome player, to being a great player. So I'm going to take you through the books that I have collected over a period of time, and I'm going to explain to you how they've helped to create in me a better storyteller. And these books are varied. There is a whole bunch of fiction, which of course inspires one's imagination as well. But there is a whole lot of non-fiction, and it ranges across the scope, but it's always focused around the role-playing space. So if I just randomly take a book here we go. Look at this, The Complete Roman Emperor, Imperial Life at Court and on Campaign. Now, this is a rather surface-looking book at the lives of the Roman emperors and what they got up to and when they went mad and how they handled catastrophe and success, and it's an interesting read, to be sure. How does that help me as a player to be a better player? Well, by adding in my knowledge on the Roman life. If I join a Roman campaign, having read that book and other books, if I come over to here, like this one, which is called Gladiator, Rome's Bloody Spectacle, I start to build up a vocabulary of words that are relevant to the period. I understand what's the difference between a Murmillo gladiator and, say, a barbaric gladiator. What was a provocateur? I don't know. Well, I do actually, because I've read the book. Have I committed all of this stuff to memory? No, I haven't. But if I'm going to go and play in a campaign that is set in Roman time periods, I'm going to read through this book quickly, because it's going to just inspire me. It's going to give me some ideas about what should I call the things that I'm wearing on my legs. If I am in a Roman campaign, can I go to the games and can I cheer when somebody's killed? Should I be lamenting that they're killing someone? Well, this book tells you exactly what the approach was, for the Romans anyway, towards gladiatorial combat. If I go and look at, say, something else, I'm going to randomly pick something. Right, here's an interesting one. The Complete Idiot's Guide to String Theory and Quantum Mechanics. I'm a player. What do I need to know about quantum mechanics? Well, quantum mechanics, and particularly this book, which I found very, very useful in terms of trying to understand all of this quantum mechanics stuff, is kind of cool. And I'm going to give you an example of where it's in a game that if you don't necessarily understand string theory or quantum mechanics for that matter, it'll go over your head. There's a game called Mass Effect. It's a 3-part trilogy, and they're releasing the 4th part, or the 4th game anyway, fairly soon. And in it, in the science fiction setting, they refer to a quantum entanglement communications device. And you go, well, that's a fancy name for something. That's a device that communicates. Quantum entanglement is an amazing theory that quantum particles, when linked together, will always be linked together no matter where they are across the galaxy. Change the state of one quantum particle, if it's entangled with another, somewhere else in the galaxy, it'll change automatically. It's the fastest form of communication that we can think of. So by understanding, or at least by certainly having a basic idea of string theory and quantum mechanics, you as a player go, quantum entanglement drive, that's an expensive piece of tech, that is. That's really cool. We can do this with it, we can do that with it, we can do the next thing with it. So if you're going to be playing in a science fiction game, brush up a little bit on your quantum mechanics. again, you're not looking to become an expert. This is not University 1010101012. This is just you drawing inspiration from material that's easily accessible. Now, you might say, oh, but I'm just going to go onto the internet and I'm going to Google stuff and it's going to tell me everything that I need to know. Google is great if you have a specific purpose and if you have a specific aim and you're looking for specific answers. But knowledge and inspiration doesn't just come at specific times. I walk past this library every morning on my way to my edit studio, and every time I look up I go, wow, slogging over Africa. This is the story of the British battle between the British and the local Dutch farmers known as the Boers, and hence it was called the Boer War. What a interesting war. In it, there's two phases to the war. There's traditional warfare, where the last charge of the British cavalry occurred. The wristwatch was invented in this war. Concentration camps were invented in this war. Trench warfare was used and failed miserably. You had 80,000 farmers, literally farmers, fighting against an estimated 450,000 well-trained British troops. And they almost won. Very briefly, it was for about an hour on a Tuesday. And then after that, they got thrashed. But it took them 4 years. There's one instance in this Great War where the British ran out of food. So what did they do? They killed all their horses, boiled it down and turned it into something called chevril, like bovril, but only made out of horses. That's what they had to eat. It was grey. They then needed bread, so they used the starch from the officers' clothing to make bread. And they mixed that up with canary seed from the bird feeding trays and things of the local population. That's interesting. I can use that as a player. If I'm stuck in a siege, I can say, well, are there any aviaries around? We can make bread from that. Let's boil up some horses. We'll make this grey paste, which keeps us alive. What was it like during that war? Well, I've got some diaries here of people who were actually involved in this particular war. Literally, this is the writing of these people saying, in the first few days of the siege, blah, blah, blah. It's amazing to read this and to put yourself in that situation. So the next time you're role-playing in that actual situation. You can never go wrong with owning books. Books are always going to be there to act as a visual cue. As you walk past, you see another book and you go, oh, that's a fantastic book. Or you see another book and you go, yes, I remember that story. I must use that with my character next time. And even fiction, to a large degree. I've got lots of fiction here. Even fiction can be used to inspire you. But it's the non-fiction that will make your dialogue, that will make your decisions, that will make your actions seem just that much more amazing, because they're going to be actually real or practical. The words that you use from the Roman period, or the British invasionary period, or the medieval period, or the Viking period, or whatever period you're playing in, if you can use terminology from that actual time period, what an amazing player. I hope that this has been inspirational in some way to start building up a library of physical solid dead wood covered in bits of scriggly writing. And if it has been, hit that like button. If you want to see more videos, hit that subscribe button. We're on Patreon now, so you can join us there if you want all sorts of goodies related to role-playing. And of course, head over to www.greatgm.com, greatgamemaster.com, where you can sign up, you can suggest topics, you can vote for topics that you want me to cover in future videos, and you can just see a whole bunch of really cool stuff. I am not putting the names of all these books up because this is not an advert for these different types of books. They're all available through Amazon, and you know how to do that. So until next time, I wish you the very best, or the very happiest of playing, or should I actually say, possibly reading.